Hey, folks, I just want to talk real quick about what's going on in the news. Just throw it up there on YouTube. The reason that we're having all this evil in the world is because we don't have a church culture anymore. The pagans are rising. They're coming back. The witches, they're bragging about abortions and child sacrifice. Churches are meant to be planted in the cities and the towns to rebuke that locally, at the local election level, and then sending out men who will rebuke evil at the national level. That's what the church is. So I was at a church fellowship last night, and we're talking about church, and something that just isn't discussed is this: in the first, second, third century, when they're talking about forming churches in the New Testament, from Acts to Revelations, it's all about church. When they're talking about it and then saying, everyone has their spiritual gifts, everyone has their way of doing things. That comment right there is an immediate comment of freedom. Because if we all have our own spiritual gifts, it goes above the authority of other men. It's special gifts from God, grace from God. So when we have gifts and from God or rights from God, it goes above kings, tyrants, and dictators. And thusly, all of us are equal. The church spread during those early centuries when here's what was common back then, but common amongst pagans: slavery, conquest. Every leader was a war chief, basically. There was no freedom of speech, no individual rights. Whatever gift you had was owned by the leaders. You have no freedoms. Gladiator arenas was a normal form of entertainment. The brutal killing. Today, they're trying to claim now that there really wasn't that many killings because the gladiators were valuable. Well, they had to kill somebody. Or, if they fought each other, fine. They didn't, but they certainly killed slaves, prisoners of war, were thrown in there for entertainment purposes. Lions, bears were used to maul what? They were used for entertainment, and that was the norm. Today, look at today, as the church culture is receding, as retreating willfully, what do we see in films today? The joy of torture porn, right? It is growing again, this joy of killing. Even in PG movies now, PG-13, even in Marvel movies now. The latest Deadpool versus Wolverine, which I enjoyed, but it was all like brutal, gory torture porn, or killing. I gotta admit I enjoyed it, but I just don't I wish they'd stop making those kind of movies. I mean, they could have made it without that much gory violence. They're making gory violence fun entertainment, but that's exactly what the gladiators did. Torture was common. Brutal, vicious torture amongst was a common thing. Remember, the cross is a pagan symbol that we've taken, like we've taken the Christmas tree, like we've taken Easter bunny. I don't care. Those don't even bother me. I like those things. But if you're against those, then you must be against the cross, because the cross is a pagan symbol of torture, public humiliation, brutal, slow torture, purposely designed to hang you and make you suffer for a long time in front of others, naked, to entertain them. That was the norm. The Romans did it along the roads, right? Thousands of people. This was the norm. Slavery, brutal slavery, was the norm. Harems were the norm. What stopped that? Christians coming from churches throughout the West. Now, that's why the left hates white supremacy or whites, because that was the only area where the church survived. In Africa, it got wiped out. In the Middle East, it got wiped out, all by Islam. And the left loves that. They loves it in their heart. They don't know. Many of them don't even know this. But the wicked always take a knee to the wicked. They always bow to other wicked and the more powerful wicked. So I'm just looking at some headlines here. I'm just going to say some. MSNBC, this is on Not the Bee, just to be quick about this. MSNBC is in full meltdown mode because people might blame transgender ideology for the school shootings, not guns. The left wants to blame Christianity. They don't want to blame, and guns is obviously our right to. It's not our right to, by the way, self-defense on criminals, or right to self-defense or sporting to shoot deer. It's self-defense against the government. All the amendments are limiting the government. First Amendment is not about yelling at criminals. First Amendment is about yelling at the government. The Second Amendment is not about shooting criminals it's about defending ourselves against a tyranny. Third, fourth, fifth, all about limiting government. The left wants to shift that Overton window to make you think it's about crime or something. It's not. So stop that. So, and they don't even know why that transgender church shooter, why he did it. He did it because he hates Jesus Christ. This is all about that. So get back in your churches, fight for churches, work with your church, be joyful about it, figure out a way to be joyful about it. By the way, have a game that teaches you that. It's a fun evangelism, planting churches style kind of role-playing game if you're into that. And if you want to write stories about real church history like that, or create ones, these games will help you too, because those are the settings. Evangelism and church planting. And that's the biggest adventure of all anyway. All right, let's just want to do a quick blurb about the news, how the left is really pushing all these evil agendas that I just mentioned, literally pushing all that again, sexual perversities, government control, centralized control of everything. What stopped that is the churches. The churches in the West stopped that. They tampered it. Churches don't get rid of evil or pain or suffering. That's not, the New Testament is, no, that's not what it's about. It's just about bringing in the message to get it across of the gospel in civilizing the world enough that we can actually continue to do that, spreading churches and civilizing the world. Wherever the church is not, is Marxist Islamic tyranny. No freedom. All right. Game of life. Roll holy dice.